Welcome back to the Adultfield Lifestyle Channel. I'm your host, Dangerous One. And welcome to another segment of Flirting with Danger. We discuss, observe the dating marketplace, sex, the ever evolving, shouldn't be a battle, but it seems to be a battle between men and women, and the interesting facets of social dynamics. So, today's topic is going to be about rejection and how to deal with rejection in dating or relationships for that matter. So I think this would be one for everybody because we've all felt rejected at times. And I'm going to feel very rejected if you don't smash that like button and share this with somebody who's been rejected or might be rejected in the future, which is, I dare say, everyone. So share with everybody you can and like, subscribe, ring the bell, whatever that is. Let's get to it. All right. So how do we deal with rejection? Right? Most people don't do well at this. And I think for a couple of reasons. I think a lot of reframing needs to take place. I think if we all as human beings have been rejected or have felt rejected, we all have insecurities. We all have pain, emotional pain, the feeling of being rejected. I use the word feeling on purpose because most of the time, particularly when you're meeting someone initially, they don't know you, you don't know them very well. It's perception of rejection that's painful, and you're responsible for the perception. You're the one who's framing that narrative. He's creating a narrative in your head. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not. I would say most times it's not accurate. You don't really know what's going on. And we all, as human beings, have the need to enhance our pleasure and avoid pain. So this is why there's a lot of people, if you look at it from a painful perspective or a fearful perspective when dating, you're not going to like dating very much, are you? And if you don't like dating, if it's not fun for you, why are you going to do it? So this is a non-starter. Expecting to be in the dating pool, in the sexual marketplace, in the social scene, if you will, being a successful dater, whatever that means to you, without experiencing the feeling of being rejected or insecurities or emotional pain is like expecting to go to the pool and having a good time, but you, in order to have a good time, you must not get wet. I say embrace it. I say learn from it. I say be curious about it. How are you going to get better without embracing that feeling that you don't want to feel? Get out there, get rejected. You know, the crazy thing about getting rejected or feeling rejected is that it's not that hard afterwards. For example, let me give an example. If I'm a little rusty, let's say I've been out, haven't been out in a while, and I went to the scene, in times of my life, and maybe I feel a little bit rusty. Maybe I feel a little bit, I dare say, not as confident as I normally am. Oh, that is unacceptable. Well, I got to get out of that mode immediately. And I know there's one sure way to do it. Throw yourself into the deep end of that pool and get wet. And so what you do is you go, you get rejected, or you do something stupid, or you have some cheesy pickup line purposely to get yourself over that. And sometimes it works anyway. You know what I'm saying? Well, it worked anyway. Cool. And then your confidence is back. You're good to go. Right. And then once you got the confidence, you'll find that you're not going to get rejected at all. And even if you got rejected or what you would have perceived as rejection before, you come to find out it's not really rejection because now you have confidence and now your mind is looking for the positives rather than, oh, I suck. No one likes me. These sort of like head games that we all play from time to time. Then you can really, really have fun with it. And that's the whole point. If it's not fun for you, if it's not enjoyable, why are you out there? So I've acknowledged that that perception of the avoidance of pain and that perception of rejection is uncomfortable. No one wants to feel that, right? But it's okay. You're going to live and you're going to learn from it and you're going to reframe it in a healthy way to make you better at this. Anything that you're trying to get better at, trying to improve, you're trying to improve your options, your odds, you're going to fail at. Okay. Now the good news is this, right? I mean, look at someone like Thomas Edison. Everyone knows the story of the light bulb. The dude failed 9,999 times. And they asked him, it was like on the 10,000th time, if he hadn't figured it out, what would he have done? He said, well, I guess I would have found 10,001 more ways that didn't work, which means I'm one step closer to finding ways that does work. So you got to be a little tough for this game. You got to be a little tough. We're going to talk about the mentality here. Because now I don't mean like tough, like you got to be rigid and stuff. But here's the thing: there is no such thing as rejection. I'm a sales guy. Okay, I'm a sales guy, and I'm also an actor. So if you don't like being rejected, right, then you better not be in those fields. Okay, because every day is about that. It's overcoming objections and rejections. And so, but here's the good news: I don't view anything as a rejection because it's not. It's perception. Follow me here. And this is why I'm good at what I do. It reminds me of something that I heard once many years ago in my childhood from a wise, wise man. Cue it. No, sensei. No, sensei. I couldn't say it any better than that. There is no rejection in this dojo, is there? There is no fear in this dojo, is there? No, you keep right on going. You go right up to them and you talk to them and you get over it. And if you perceive rejection, well, then you go to the next one, because one of my favorite words in the dating world in general is next. We must not forget, ladies and gentlemen, getting wet is fun. No, we must not forget the number one rule when dating: you cannot take anything personally, particularly at the beginning. Now, later on, I'll give you an example of when there is an exception to that rule. But in the context of you meeting somebody and you don't know them that well, you cannot take anything personally. You don't know why you're perceiving rejection from them. Let's say you're a guy, because this is easier because I'm a guy. You don't know if that girl has a girl, if that girl has a boyfriend. You don't. You don't know if she's having a bad day. She's not in the mood for it. You don't know if she secretly thinks you're hot and would really like to get to know you, but her friends are there, and she feels awkward about it because her friend's in a bad mood. Her friend is drunk. I mean, I've seen all kinds of scenarios. She's got her boyfriend there, and you don't know it. There's all sorts of different scenarios that exist that you cannot take everything personally. Plus, why would you ever take personally somebody who doesn't know you? You know what I mean? Why would you ever perceive a rejection from someone who doesn't know how cool you are? What great conversationist you are. You haven't even sat down with her yet to talk. Now, if you sat down with her later on a date or something and she rejected you and didn't want to see you anymore, or vice versa, well, then you take inventory. Why is that? So there is no rejection. Get this through your head. There is only opportunity. When you shift that paradigm from I'm being rejected, I'm insecure, this is painful, no one likes me, whatever that bullshit narrative is in your head that you created, that you're responsible for, that you can change immediately, to the new, empowering, more accurate paradigm, which is I have no idea, it doesn't really matter, that there is no rejection, by the way. There is only opportunity to get to know someone, right? So just like when I sit down for a sales presentation, I don't think about what the outcome is. I'm in the moment. I'm not in it for me. I'm in it for what's in it for them. I'm trying to entertain. I'm trying to provide solutions. I'm trying to build value. I'm trying to build rapport. I'm trying to build a relationship. I'm a professional relationship builder. This is why I use these skills for relationships. And so in sales, there is no. I don't mean the whole, I know what you're going to say. There's no means no. I don't mean that in a sexual way. Okay. Of course, no sometimes means no, although sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, no means no in that case. But when it comes to sales, when it comes to the mentality, there is no. There's just something that didn't work yet. In other words, there's a combination to that lock. I haven't figured out what it is yet, but I found out things that didn't work. And I'm going to find out the new combination, right? Like Thomas Edison. I'll give you a couple more analogies using my acting background. Okay. Acting. If you don't like the perception of being rejected and having someone judge you and them saying no, you're not going to be an actor, because your job isn't really acting, because you don't even get to act that much. Your job is auditioning. Your job is submitting for roles. Your job is getting a manager or an agent. You're marketing yourself. That is your job. Whenever you have an audience, it's opportunity, whether it's an audition, whether it's you're actually performing a role, whether you're practicing. It's an opportunity for you to have an audience and get better and grow. This requires there is no rejection attitude, because again, you don't know why that agent didn't choose you. You have no idea. The person behind you might have been a worse actor, but they were looking for it sometimes has nothing to do with your acting skills. It could be they're looking for a certain role. It could be they liked you and they were going to use you for another role, but they can't use you for this because your hair, you got your hair cut too short for the role and they had to shoot it next week. I mean, there's all kinds of things. There's no way for you to know. They're not going to tell you. They're in front of 500 people. They're not going to tell you. Okay. They don't have time for that. And it's not your job to ask. You're there to have an audience, whatever that means. So again, it's hard not to take it personally, but requires balls. Okay. The fact that you go out in front of somebody, you put yourself on the line, whether it's acting, whether it's sales, whether it's dating, and you do it anyway, even though sometimes it's uncomfortable. It will eventually make you comfortable because you're so good at being uncomfortable that it's not uncomfortable anymore. It's fun. It's fun because you've reframed it. They need someone, right? Clooney said this one time, and he's right. It's like, in terms of the acting context, but it applies to dating as well. And it applies to sales, which is they're looking for someone. The people that you're auditioning for, the casting agents, are looking for someone. That's their job. They're hoping you're the person. They're rooting for you. They want you to be the person. The person in front of you wants to sleep with you. They want to be on a date with you. They want it to work, unless they're crazy, in which in case you don't want to know them anyway. That's the other part of it. If they don't know how great you are and they're treating you like crap for whatever reason, and it's not your fault, you just learned, then why did you care what their opinion is anyway? That's not rejection. They saved you. You follow me? These are all really great analogies and ways. They're not just mental games either. They're true. They work. So it's about, again, having those big balls, giving yourself the opportunity and making the most of it. Just get in front of the person, and then they want a solution. They want you to be the solution, whether it's to hang out with them, whether it's for unlawful carnal knowledge, whether it's for, just coffee, whatever it is. Just do your thing, relax and enjoy the process. And you're going to get better and better at it. So don't worry about rejection because that doesn't really even exist. Does that make sense? I'm not just saying that as like semantics. I mean it. It's not, it's a thing your head creates. There is no rejection. There's only opportunity. The only thing here's the thing. You're a baseball player. It's much like baseball. What dating scenario would be complete without a baseball analogy? If you hit 300 in baseball, you're a Hall of Famer. That means you're only successful 30% of the time. You're a Hall of Famer. It's even less than that. If you're a Hall of Fame dater, it's probably like 0.005%. Okay. So, and that's if you're spectacular at it. All right. Your closing rate for this stuff is not going to be high. It isn't. If you're a great closer in selling your product or service, your closing rate might be 60, maybe even 70%. If you're really good, that's Hall of Fame material, right? It's not like that with dating. It's a lot less than that than baseball, all right, or even sales. A lot less. It's significantly less. So no one gives a fuck about the 70% of the time that person didn't get on base, that Hall of Famer didn't get on base. They only care about the victories. They only focus on victories. No one cares. You shouldn't care about the ones you didn't get or one. It's about what you did. What victories did you have? Focus on the victories. Who cares about the strikeouts? Did you hit some home runs? Did you have a good time playing? That's all that matters. So what do we do when we get rejected, say in a bar or club, especially if you're a guy, right? Because, women, if they do get rejected, it's usually in a relationship context because women are the ones who are the gatekeepers to a relationship even starting, right? They're the ones who are they were demanded sexually. Okay. So they're the ones that choose and select who they want to mate, not the guys. So for them, it's a different dynamic. They usually get rejected once they get into relationships, right? They either get broken up with or get rejected for this and that. But they are the ones who open the door for the suitor to start with. So if a guy rejects you, or if a woman rejects you, gentlemen, or you perceive it as rejection, it's easy for me to say laugh it off because I know it doesn't feel good. But again, you have to reframe it. Was she rude to you? If she was rude to you, or she was snotty, or she didn't give you the time of day, or she kind of lived, again, you can't take it personally. You don't want to talk to her anyway, because that would not have been somebody pleasant. Do you really want to get to know someone like that? No. Now, if she was polite and you got rejected, okay, next. Okay, next. I've had women I thought rejected me at the beginning of the night. By the end of the night, I was talking to them and good things happened. So again, it's all about perception. And you just play with it. Because here's the thing. If you get all butthurt about it, then you're not going to be in the positive frame of mind to work on that. A lot of times women would test your resolve a little bit. They'll give you a little bit, kind of like joust with you a little bit, maybe give you a little bit of negativity at the beginning to see how resolved you are. And here's how you take it. You let it roll off like oil off a duck or water off a duck, whatever that is. You let it roll off. You'd be above it. Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. Well, that's a shame. Well, that's okay. I'm going to drink anyway. What was your name again? So it doesn't matter. You just keep right on rolling with the punches with it. And a lot of times women are like, oh, this guy, you can't deter this dude. He's got confidence. That you're damn right I do. And that's the whole point. That's what they're looking for. They will test you like that. A lot of times what I'll do if I felt like I was being rejected or I wasn't getting the response I wanted, then I go right to the next girl. It's just the next one I find attractive or the next opportunity. You know what I mean? It won't matter. If you're feeling confident and you're above that, it won't matter. You just go to the next one and someone, trust me, there'll be a woman there that wants to talk to you. You have to have the balls. If they say again, you're the most despicable human being I don't have any interest in talking to you. I mean, who's going to say that? But oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. Have a good day. Again, who's your friend? You've heard me say this before. It doesn't matter. One of the best strategies you can use is purposely try to get rejected. Not purposely get rejected, but just go up to someone. You can use a cheesy pickup line. You can practice something you've always wanted to practice socially, right? Just to see what the reaction is. Have fun with it, right? Use an accent. I've done this before. You go up and you pretend you have an accent. Anything. Like just be crazy with it. And if that way, if you get rejected, then you're like, I was just clowning around anyway. And it was fun, right? Or they're like, you have an accent, and you're like, no, not really. You know what I mean? But you can do all kinds of things with it, and you're already over that. So you got that out of your head. Because the thing about being rejected a lot of times is you get in your own head about it. If you're not in a moment with that person, you're not going to close the deal anyway, more than likely. But if you're in the moment with them and you're having a good time and you can be playful, you're focused only on them, not yourself, then you're probably going to do very well. And so one of the acting tricks, this goes back to one of the acting tricks that you can use. I had an audition class once, and we were all reading the same script, and we were required to stand. It was like a 4-hour workshop, and we were required to stay on the stage. And you got about like 15 people in the class, okay? And then you have a big screen, pretty massive screen that everyone can see on the screen, and they can see you simultaneously. So it shows you what you're going to look like on a big screen. And so there's a lot of pressure, right? And so everyone's reading the same script. So now it's your turn to go up there and read the same script. It's like a commercial read, okay? And so you're reading it. Now, when I first did this workshop, I didn't have a lot of commercial experience. And so everyone in the class seemed to be just kind of brushing up on theirs, but they had done them before. So they all had more experience with doing it. So I kind of fell a little bit off with it. I was like, I'm here, let's do this, right? And so the first time I read it, I mean, I could not F up anywhere. So it was very, very pedestrian. It was very vanilla read. It wasn't real great. I'm like, and I knew it was bad when I did it, but it's okay. Right. And I said some really stupid things. Doesn't matter. But that's the point. Get it out of your system. And so she was the acting coach was fantastic. She says, I want you to run off screen. I want you to jump back onto the stage and make some noise. So I was like, okay, I guess this is a thing. So I ran back on one stage and jumped on stage. And I read it immediately. A little bit better. I'm getting out of my own head now. A little bit better. It's coming out. I'm reading for it. But it still wasn't right. So she says, okay, now what you do is I want you to purposely sing the script as poorly as you can. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be hard. So I read it. I mean, I sang it really poorly, really poorly. Okay. So as embarrassing as you could get, but that was the whole point. You get that weirdness, that self-conscious out of your system. And so I did that. And then the instructions were to read it immediately after doing it. And so I did it again right after I sang it. And wouldn't you know, I nailed it. That's the point. Get out of your own head. Next. So back to testosterone. Now, fun fact, because this is good. Look, if you're getting used to rejection, again, I'm always putting this up here. It's perception of rejection. If you're trying to get good at overcoming this fear of it, really is what it is, the fear of rejection, you have to have your guns blazing. Gentlemen, you got to have some testosterone. Now, I'll tell you an interesting fact that you may or may not know about. The professions with the highest levels of testosterone. Three professions. One, professional football player. That probably doesn't shock you, right? High levels of professional football. Now, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you have high testosterone and then therefore that's why you're in that field? That's why you're good at football? Or are you playing football, therefore your testosterone is going to naturally become higher? Because testosterone is variable, right? You can do things to improve, like if you work out, you can improve your testosterone. If you're um, constantly being in a situation where you have to rise to the occasion, like football, like performance, like acting, like sales. You're a salesperson. It's always about next. What's next? Great. You're only as good as your last sale. You're only as good as your last season. You're only as good as your last movie. It's all about what's next. You always have to raise your game. Always. No one gives a shit about what you did yesterday. What's next? What's now? That's the mentality. So of course you're going to have to raise your game. Your testosterone is going to come up to meet that challenge, isn't it? It's the same with dating, isn't it? So who's going to be best at it? And not so coincidentally, guess who has the highest testosterone after football players? I'm sure MMA is up there also. Like fighters are probably up there as well, obviously. But guess who? After professional athletes, who's next? Salespeople and actors. Okay. And why is that? Because think about it. Again, what comes first, the chicken egg? I mean, it can happen both ways, I'm sure, in this scenario. But if you have to overcome rejection or the perception of rejection and get to yes, to get to close the deal, to overcome any sort of perceived negativity and get them to believe and buy you. Because remember, just like sales, people buy you. You got to be likable in some way. You have to cause an emotional response from them. You have to get a reaction. Does it make sense? So, all right. So I hope that helped. Now, let's shift this a little bit to rejection in relationships. Because I know women are going to say, well, what about me? Because that can happen to me too. Like, well, first of all, again, ladies, if you're dealing with a guy that's rejecting you, he's a complete dick about it. You're not with the right guy. Okay. Like, first of all, you shouldn't be going out and a guy reject. Like, most women don't come up to guys anyway, but when they do, I don't know any guy. When women have come up to me, even if I wasn't interested in them, I'm always going to be cordial and nice because it's flattering when a woman does that. You know what I mean? It's very flattering. And you want to be respectful because you are a man of honor after all. And you want to be cordial to her. So it's very rare that a guy is going to reject a woman when she's hitting on him, right? Unless she's like rude or disrespectful or his girlfriend's right there or something like that. But other than that, it's going to be very rare. So you're probably not going to experience it. There are women, though, that are downright rude. And sometimes I understand because guys can be, kind of annoying and over the top with it. And especially if they're touchy-feely and it's a total stranger and they're being rude. And I get it. Women are kind of conditioned over the years of this sort of behavior. So I understand. But again, there's no reason to be disrespectful to people. But anyway, this one's for the ladies. And it can be for guys, too. But this one, it probably takes place for the ladies more than they would in the other scenario. Okay, so within a relationship, whether it's perceived rejection, like a breakup, like you dated them for a while, and now you're breaking up with them, they broke up with you, or it's rejection of something within the relationship, you feel rejected. Okay, that's hard not to take personally, right? You say, Jason, well, what's the number one thing to always remember? Number one rule: don't take anything personally in dating. But how do you not take that personally? So this one's a little different. This one you might want to take personally. What do I mean by that? Well, particularly if it's a consistent offense. In other words, this is not the first time you've been rejected like this, either by the same guy or woman for that matter, or different guys, but within the context of a relationship, right? You're breaking up and it seems that it go down the same way. There's a pattern. In other words, you're starting to recognize a pattern. Like, well, why is this happening? Okay, well, if you want to improve, you want to get better, you're tired of it happening, there could be a pattern. There might be something you're doing. It takes two to tango. There might indeed be something that you're doing that you're not going to get the truth out of. You need to find out what that is. And you have to take inventory of what your behaviors are, guys and women. Why is this happening? Sometimes you don't take it personally, but if you were going to take it personally, that's when you would, because otherwise, how are you going to improve to get better to make sure that doesn't happen again, or to at least better your odds in the future? You got to look in a mirror. You have to be, this is where it's going to take some strength, because no one likes cognitive dissonance. No one wants to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, this is at least partially my fault. I've got to take some, I don't want to, today we live in a victim mentality, victimhood mentality, right? Everything's someone else's fault, including relationships. It didn't work. That person was an asshole. It didn't work. She was a bitch. Whatever it was. Part of it was us, wasn't it? How do you date yourself? Right? There's something within the dynamics, at least between you and the other person. What's going on? It's something in your game. It's something in your approach. It's something in your attitude. It's something. Now, what is it? Can you look yourself in a mirror and say, no, this is not good enough. I'm doing something not right here. There's something in the way I'm approaching this. And I've got to take inventory of what I'm doing. I got to take responsibility for that, and I got to fix it. Because some the people don't like this for whatever reason. And if I want to get X, Y, and Z, I need to become a better person, a better version of myself. In order to do that, though, you have to be strong enough to take inventory, look in the mirror, and say, all right, I have to have some introspective here. I have to be better. Anyway, I hope that helped. I gave you a couple contexts there, gave you some analogies, gave you some reframing techniques. And again, hope to help. If you found any value in it, again, like it, send it to somebody that needs it. Remember to live safely, but not too safely. Stay dangerous, my friends. And also, I'm going to leave you with the wise words. Once again, just in case you didn't remember, there's never a bad time to watch Karate Kid clips. Stand by. No, Sensei. No, Sensei. In this dojo,